Here it is. We are coming to you live on the interwebs. Hello, Monifa.
Hello, Susie. So good to see you. It's
It is
been
a
a
treat.
festive April.
How did everybody else do with April? Huh? How are we coming through? We're almost to May. Is it going to get easier, Monifa? I'm dying to find out.
You know, it's so hard to tell these things, right? Because I feel like last year, like a lot of what was happening was very ominous, and they were just like, "Oh my gosh, I need help. I don't need, ominity, whatever that is." And
Business.
like this year's like it sounds pretty, chill. It sounds great even sometimes. And then like life happens and it's just like, whoa. These things are supposed to be assisting us. I don't know how many people are feeling that right now. Like they're supposed to be like in their energies. They are the things that we're always asking for. Prosperity, like and all this stuff. And it's really just like telling us, I don't know, maybe that's it. Maybe it's just being that really brutal, honest reflection of why we're not there yet, And so it is, I think, you know, it's relative. But I think that's why we have to check in because otherwise it's just we just don't have any reference for why everything is happening again if you're not having kind of a personal consistent purpose and what you're learning about your life right now and all those things. Everybody say hi to the lawnmower. All right, so so of course I want to start a little bit with what's been going on this April, mostly in the end of April because it culminated with this understanding of like, well, what we had that was just in the way of productivity, efficiency, and then it really brings us back to like the point of focus is how I think of it with our new moon we just had yesterday in Taurus. And that was Jinki 23. Complexity is a shadow. Does life feel complex to you right now? And then the gift is simplicity, and the city is quintessence, which is one of my favorite words, one of Richard Rudd's favorite words, but the essence of the essence, right? It's like the essential thing of or quality of a thing. So if you can kind of, even from that relationship, remember April's lessons were the pruning of the money tree. How are we caretaking our our natural growth and prosperity, right? And and when we come now that we've had some experience with that full moon and this new moon of simplicity in Taurus, um, what have you had to say? Like, what was, what did you think you were going to have to simplify, and what are you realizing you just had to like kind of throw out the window as you were in emergency mode? I think if we can sit that with that reflection, we'll have a better, again, place to come from to understand kind of how it may flow for us in May, right? For me, it really was just like sticking with the basics for me, which was really just my ideas and how I'm thinking of things, how I want things to happen, instead of worrying about what like how it's going to happen. Because you know, I like a plan, and plans weren't not available in April. Did anybody else feel like planning wasn't like it was cute, but it wasn't a thing?
That's the best way to put it. All plans went completely out the window in April. And talk about pruning back right down to the heart stock there.
Wow. Yeah, so I feel that. I feel that so hard. So that's kind of where we've either simplified and we simplified our lives or we had our lives simplified for us, right? Um, and it, the benefits I think are immediate in that you just you can only focus what's in front of you. Um, and, whether you feel like it's coming from a negative aspect or not, right? And so that ability is what's going to help us in May. In May, if we are understanding that we can focus on the thing in front of us and still make it, we're still alive, we're still here, we made it, we got this far. Then our full moon in Scorpio, which is going to be on May, let's maybe double check. May, I'm on the wrong document. No, May 12th. That was my other information from last month. So yeah, so May 12th is going to be in Scorpio. So what I pulled for y'all about this is from Karen Curry Parker's Quantum Human Design, and this key or gate 43 in Quantum Human Design, and that's insight. And I've pulled for you from Gene Keys, which is the Gene Key 43, which is the shadow of deafness, the gift of insight. This is one of the rare times I use the same word. And then the city of epiphany. So if we were listening a little bit last month, we were hearing how we can get confused in the receiving of divine information, divine knowledge, and the communication of that knowledge. And it was the last I call it full moon, no, new moon. The last new moon was about that transmission, is how they call that in quantum human design. And now this one that's coming up, this full moon that's coming up in Scorpio on the 12th, is about using that hearing or using that insight. And it's really kind of complicated because this is one of those that are actually, they feed off of each other in the channel of quantum human design. And it's also the programming partner, which I don't know if there's another one that does that. I think this is the only one. 23 and 43 are both oppositions in Western astrology and programming partners in human design and gene keys. So that's rare, but that's where you get this kind of echo feedback kind of loop idea, because it's creating the actual rhythm that happens in the synapses, and we're receiving information and insight and like transmitting that to speaking, writing, communicating, right? And so the reflections of each other, right? You have to be able to hear correctly to communicate correctly. And I talk about this all the time in voice because so many people think they're tone deaf. And I'm like, no, that's not a thing. Like, did you hear it? Then you're not deaf, right? Like, so it's a matter of like, do you know how to translate your own hearing, right? Are you trusting what you hear? And that's a physicality, right? So this is the same idea in our intuition, divine knowledge, wisdom, all the things. Are you trusting what you are hearing or receiving from divine? And are you so busy questioning or worrying about it that you're not clear in the reception or the transmission of the sharing of it, right? So, and this came up last December, by the way, guys. So if anybody can remember what was going on in December, I cannot. My brain don't work that way. But if you can remember what was going on for you in December, we had 23, which again was this past new moon. That was in December, where we had to think about how are we receiving information. And is it messing up our timing? Are we not hearing clearly or not questioning our hearing so much that it's messing up how we decide to initiate what we're doing? So that's our creation cycle. We like to talk about that, don't we, Susie? So the challenge here in the May 12th and in that 43, which is insight, the challenge here is to trust the epiphanies and knowing and the timing that you sense is right. So even So what a lot of people will do, and I just feel like this is a good place to say this, a lot of people will do is they'll wait till they feel comfortable with what they know. And that takes you out of timing because it's not for you to feel comfortable, it's for you to trust and do, right? And so like there's a way, I'm all about regulating the nervous system and feeling confident in what you're doing, but that essential reality of how this works is that you just are supposed to trust and go, right? So that's the hard part. But ultimately, you'll be able to tap into the new information, the new understanding, and expand on that to other people, to yourself, to the world. And you'll be able to pick the right time to do things so that it continues to flow and it continues to work well. So that's like the optimal energy of the 43 and quantum human design. And in the way that it functions in Gene Keys, it's like, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Right? That it has this shadow of deafness where it's basically not being able to hear what's going on inside you. And what Richard Rudd talks about, what I think is really useful about this, is that he says the reason that you can't change is because you want to change. And I think that's really awful that he does that to us, but he does, like he brings those, paradoxical realities up all the time because it's just a matter of universal consciousness, right? That's just part of what happens when you delve into these unity states. But it's that desire to that, or the truth of your understanding that something's wrong, that keeps you from seeing what is right or what can bring you what you want. So, or what you already have, which is the other kind of edge of that sword. So, like, it can show up in this fear. The fear is always kind of whether I'm going to die or not. How am I going to die? But this is one of those essential fears. It's directly connected to survival as part of the process of understanding our insight. So, are we stuck on surviving, or are we going to be able to live into the higher understanding that anything that's happening is like fodder for the ability to serve, right? So it can look like being worried, which is internal noise, that kind of, am I going to survive? And then like worrying about stuff in your head. And then the reactive is noisy. So you actually end up just talking, and you say inappropriate things. And that's again out of the fear of not being able to survive. But this is kind of that extension of if others don't accept me or understand me, then they will not support me and I will die, right? As a part, like, if you're a part of a tribe and somebody else is bringing in the meat and they don't like you, who says you're getting meat, right? So that's where those kind of instincts come from. So that is that fear. And so you end up saying something just out of the need to feel accepted and need to be accepted. You say things and just keep saying them, and it eventually becomes inappropriate. And then you end up getting the same result, is that people don't appreciate that, and you get, ostracized as a result of it. So thus the shadow shows up kind of both ways. How do we get to the insight? That's always my biggest question. So this is about being a creative, a rebel, that you can inspire. So what I like about this, I brought a quote out for this one. They simply cut a new pathway without worrying about where it's going. This is the deafness of genius, to forget the future altogether and simply be the conduit for creative insight. So again, like, instead of letting our internal worries about future or past, that repeating kind of worries, focusing in on just what are we receiving? Where are we? How are we dealing with it, right? And then the other side of that is that you get to, well, this is just the way it is without all that. Am I saying the right thing? Am I doing it the right way? Am I going to, right? And that way, it just becomes a pure transmission of your true creativity, your true self. And then you just end up standing out. It's the creative rebel. You end up standing out. You inspire others because you're so original and awesome. And as a result, people want to be either more like you or do their own abilities, be their own level of creative and all those things. So it's like passing on that yummy juice of creativity. So that is for our full moon in Scorpio. What do you think about that, Susie?
We've got some wild ride coming up, right? The lessons keep unfolding. And I think it is, it's that stepping out in faith, right? Like we've learned the lessons we didn't learn, we just got resolved for us, didn't we? Like we've kind of been laid bare. Now we know exactly what we have left, what we're working with here. And there's nowhere to go but forward, right? No way but through. I put together some flower essences. I was typing away over here. Forgive my typey types and hopefully not shaking up the screen too much. In terms of our new moon that we are just coming from right now, the wild oat flower essence helps us connect with our inner purpose, which I think is fantastic right now with everything else. And it's easy to get caught up in what's we've left behind, what else is demanding our attention. With wild oat, we can come back to what's really pulling us forward and cut through the noise. I think that's a really powerful flower. And honeysuckle helps us not get stuck in the nostalgia and the missing of the way things were, because as we've been talking about leading up to this installment and where the energies are, but they've been bringing us to this point, right? It doesn't do us any good to miss what we don't have. The entire thing is leading us to be lighter and freer and able to pick up what is waiting for us, and we have to open our hands in order to receive that. So I think honeysuckle and being less attached is going to be really empowering.
Yes, yes. I think so. I think, that has been, I think, a lesson that was anchored really last year of you have to know your own path, right? Like just focus on your own path and like the rest of everything will come, right? It may not come exactly how you dreamed of it as a child, right? But it'll come. And um, and so that is, I think, what's so essential about this piece of bringing those essences in from the past new moon. Yeah. So did you
And I've
had
got some more flowers for our upcoming full moon. Scorpio, well, my north node is in Scorpio, so that's always my growing edge to going deep with those feels. Star of Bethlehem really helps us connect to spirit. I see in a couple of different ways that that's going to be a really beautiful essence, especially if you're feeling overwhelmed right now, or if all of this change is bringing up old wounds, old fears, old traumas. Star of Bethlehem helps us to release those. And Serato helps us to trust in that inner wisdom that you've been talking about, that quintessence, that clarity that we have. And as you're saying, we get all caught up in the answers that we have and trying to perform, and we need to really cut all the way down to the heartstock, like I was just saying, right? To the really healthy green growth in the plant. Stop wasting our times trying to pretty up the leaves. Come back down to where it's really coming from. So Serato helps us to trust in that inner wisdom. And Rock Rose will help if you're feeling overwhelmed and frightened. It's in the Rescue Remedy, or the core 5-flower formula of the Bach flower essences, and it helps us to move through those really deep and gripping episodes where we're just immobilized by fear, because it's some big change. It's okay to feel afraid if we don't get stuck in that fear.
Yes, it's part of it. Yeah, and I'm learning more and more to just like kind of trust the fear in a way of even embracing it, and that's a big for me. I don't know whoever else has heard some of my journey, but like that's huge because it's not easy. It's not easy to lean into those things, and just being in my meditative space and like keep coming back to my own month's method so that I can process that energy without feeling like I'm going to get overwhelmed by it,
Right.
and so the more I do it, the more I can actually be like, oh, this is actually kind of useful. I guess they were talking about something that works. I don't know. Um, all those mentors on the way down this road, right? So let's talk about the new moon that's happening in May, and that is on the 26th of May, and it is in quantum human design. It's called Zest, which is yummy, right? That sounds yummy. That sounds positive, right? And the gene keys is the shadow of indifference, the gift of versatility, and the city of mastery. So this is one of my faves. This is one of my keys in my profile. So it's like I love coming back to my keys, especially if they're coming up in transits, because they really help me understand myself and how I'm dealing with people. Because I start to see how other people deal with the energy, and then like, oh, I thought I was just that different, right? And that's one of the things I love about astrology is it kind of tells you how we all are shaped so differently, and how we deal with things or think of things differently in order to cope with our fears and our desires and getting those met. But yeah, so the challenge here in quantum human design is to learn to temper your enthusiasm by making sure you're prepared enough for whatever you're trying to create or do. So it's this, yeah, be excited and be prepared and just do it. Like it's kind of all the things in the one. I think, again, if you're still attached to all those things that were the full load of the sourced, that we decided to simplify on uh, in April, then this would be a hard assignment, right? But if we're flowing with the energies, you're like, oh yeah, simplifying, just what's in front of us, what's available, focus on that. Then this is going to be like, oh, okay. So I just have to prepare for the one thing that I'm left with. Right? So it can be really easy if we just have like we're just meeting and embracing life as it is. And so that you can be challenged, or it can be something that you can use in the in the succeeding of getting something done. Optimally, you have the courage to take the leap of action, inspire others to act, even if you don't know all the details, and the courage to trust your own intuition and that the timing is right and you are ready enough, even if you don't know exactly how the journey will unfold. So this is one of those ideas that is just like, whoa, am I supposed to get ready or am I supposed to be ready? But that's zest. It's like it's not necessarily, yes, whole meal. We'll have 10 days to prepare. No, this is nowness, right? The zesty. And there you go. It has oregano. Aren't you happy now? Right? Like it's that spice of life feeling. And if we are following and trusting the spark or the spice of life, I'm mixing metaphors here. That you will like it'll flow. How do I know? I know because this is one of the things that that make my brain work, right? I don't always know what I'm going to do or say, but if I trust the impulse, the right thing comes up. the right thing comes up. And this is, so I know this is how it works. This is this is one of the things that will work if you work it, right? Gene Keys will help you out, like flesh this out a little bit. First of all, what I want you to know about this energy is that it's part of the codon ring of prosperity. So that's a Gene Keys idea of genes in your DNA strand, and what genes kind of work together to do some work are codons. Okay. The codon ring for this is prosperity, which is, this works with the key of 45 to create prosperity and an overflow. So, and that's how it works in the gene keys. Prosperity is always overflowed so that the others around you are also prospering, right? So the idea here in the shadow is that we're trying to run away from responsibility. We're not really running as much as hiding. Like trying to explain myself as with the definition. Like we're just kind of like keeping it down low for it's this feeling of like I can't be responsible for everything that bothers me, so I'm just going to focus on not any of it because otherwise I can't think. Right? I can't focus. It's kind of coming from the simplicity aspect of like, well, if I just focus on this one thing, then I won't have to worry about other things. And then I won't be sad because of the people that are getting hurt. And then I won't like flake out because I can't emotionally recover for whatever I said I was going to do. Right? So it's just this need to kind of hide for safety. And what happens here is that it keeps you from being effective, right? So a quote that I pulled from Gene Keys is, as long as you are focused on the inessential, which is what happens when you're hiding, you're just kind of like, I'll just do this thing over here. That makes no difference whatsoever. You will be indifferent to the things in life that really matter. So as long as we're hiding, we can't get to the things that matter, not only to others, but for ourselves. Right? And the other quote that I pulled is that the 16th shadow puts all its emphasis on skills, techniques, and systems rather than on the human spirit that enlivens them. And as you all know, I am obsessed with tools, techniques, and systems. I love a process. Yeah, like let's go back to the process, right? And what I am constantly like having to remind myself and check myself on is that I'm allowing the feelingness, the nowness, the presence, the liveliness, the essence of energy to be my focal point and not the system itself, right? So I'm constantly living that kind of edge. And so that's what this is the invitation to. Like, if you're only depending on a system that has been set up for you or that you set up for yourself, then this may be a clue as to how to move into a more prosperous future. It's like you don't necessarily say fuck a system, but you do say, but you do like refocus on what matters. Like, where's the heart? Where's the humanity? What truly matters to you in your experience of life, and how are you making that central, right? And so yeah, so the nature here is to feel like you don't have enough time to do the thing that's important, so you do the non-important things, right? Like, I don't have time to do the hard part, but I can do this one little thing over here. I'll just delete this email. I'll delete this other email because now I've done two things. And I'll delete this other email. That's three, right? Like, I'm talking to myself. All right. So, but it is true. This is like kind of how it functions in my real life. So, yeah. So the fear here is essentially that you'll never get to what's important. Also, like, and it's kind of like this oriented fear that kind of goes back and forth. So you'll either be gullible, and which is the repressive idea, which is the idea that, oh, if I just keep buying into the system, eventually it has to work because they said it was proven. Right? Like they proved it and it's proven, so it has to work. That's that kind of gullibility. We just buy into the people who sound like they know what they're doing, right? And then we submit in a thought that we are powerless in and of ourselves, but only subject to the system, right? And then the other side of that is feeling self-deluded, which it makes it impossible for others to react to our true desires and what do we find meaningful. But it's also like kind of convincing ourselves that we are doing enough. So that's another thing. Um, like that's another thing that comes up for me is that I'll do a lot of stuff and not all of it is okay. Little of it is meaningful to other people and or my ultimate objective of life, right? And then it's like inconsequential, and then other people don't really know what I'm up to, what's meaningful to me, and then it doesn't actually turn into anything, right? So this new moon in May is about how are you going to focus on the essential, and it's cleaned up things for you so you can only focus on the essential, right? And that doesn't mean that you won't find a reason not to. If I think the key here for me, one of the key buy-ins was, am I making time the reason I can't do it? Right? Because we know, because of previous books that we've looked into, that we make our own sense of time. Right? We will fit in what we want to fit in. I can fit in coloring every day on my app. So what's the problem? Right? I can get at least 5 of those suckers done. Like we're gonna get some coloring done, right? So what what is, what's the truth of your reality so that you can focus on essentials? And the power here, the ability to identify what your dreams really are and keep them the center point of your actions, right? So it moves into this amazing versatility, which is this ability to basically make everything matter. Like everything becomes important to the final meaningful thing. And it also allows you to kind of, again, it has this extension of pulling in from the framework. That's why we can't get too complicated about it, because if we get too complicated about it, we'll never have an outcome, right? You'll just live in the systems and extremities of the ideas. So much of this is going to be a little bit what we're going to bring up with the book, right? So if we come back to the meaningful point, then it allows us to really discern what our dreams really are, what would actually matter to us if we move forward on it. Otherwise we get caught up in externalized systems, other people's ideas of success, like making a lot of money and, voting. Okay. but but what I'm saying is that essentially we get so bogged down from what other people are telling us is important that we're not able to fulfill or move forward on our dreams that are meaningful to us specifically. So that's our little info for our new moon. So what I love about that being the new moon is that now, like, we can focus on seeding our truth, our dream, our creation, our vision of what we want to create next. So I think it's yummy. I think it's yummy, yummy, yummy.
I think the potential is amazing and in and of itself a little frightening, right? I mean, I certainly see in my immediate circles, not only in my own habits, but I see a lot of energy going to, let me just focus on this system while everything else is falling apart around me, right? But I've got this system, and if I perfect this system and put a lot of time and energy over here, maybe I won't notice what is falling apart around me. It is difficult to let go of those systems, but with all of this peeling away, all of this releasing, look how much time we can take back if we don't get all tangled up in our systems and processes and expectations and external goals.
Yes,
Can't be
absolutely. Yeah,
right?
and it's amazing because it brings such a fluidity because you're just in that same vein and focal point, right?
Right. And so the flower essence that comes to me here is vervain. Vervain, I also always think of as fervor or feeling fervent about something. When you're really passionate, when you are the one on the soapbox and trying to rally everyone to your cause, that's a very vervain state. And so we can release some of that passion and that energy that we're pouring into this and trying to force things and go with flow a little bit more so we can find balance by using vervain to temper your enthusiasm. Serato came back again for building trust. And while I was at it, I could also bring back wild oat to help you stay connected to your purpose and your forward motion, right? But cherry plum helps us to embrace flow. So if you're really feeling constricted, if you're feeling that compulsive, I need to do something, cherry plum can ease that pressure and help you just accept the flow of things. Because I feel like, Monifa, you're saying it's going to be all right. The less struggle, the less force we bring into it, the more flow and ease we're going to find as we get that clarity and we hone in on what's really there for us to move through this with, to develop our mastery.
Right. I think a lot even of April's message was like, don't succumb to the pressure to do just to do, right? And it's so funny because I actually had one more takeaway from the chapter that you talked about when talking about Vervain. And it's this quote that says, "To be enthused, you must have an experience instead of dreaming about an experience." So,
Mm-hmm.
so it's amazing to me that you had enthusiasm as part of the definition of Vervain. And the tempering, I think the tempering is that in order to have the experience, again, you have to pare it down. You can only, like, if you have 1,000 dreams, fine and dandy, but you have to pare it down to an experience you can have. And when that happens, it has to be super and hyper focused to your now moment. You're going to have an experience in this now space and the now set amount of time that you've allotted and or is available to you. And so it really pares it very much down. It's tempering, like life tempers it. But like if we're just going to keep externalizing, then you're gonna need some vervain. because because you can't be enthusiastic about something you're not experiencing, and this is just a truth. Um, a lot of artists, I think, go through that feeling of no longer being an artist or something like that because they haven't had time to work on their art. And the definition of who you are doesn't really change. Like your purpose doesn't really, I mean, it may like reflect differently externally again, but it doesn't really change within yourself of what's motivating to you and all that kind of thing. But if you don't do anything about it that you or others can experience, then you stop believing that you are who you are. Right. And so I think this is very much on time. And the whole reality of the thing. So yeah, so I just to tell you a little bit about why is that I have a singing gig coming up and rehearsals start next weekend, right? And part of that is kind of re-identifying as a vocalist, as an opera singer. And I'm like, okay, well, I I kind of put that away for a little bit. So it's like fitting back into the old suit, but not allowing it to be restrictive anymore, right? Not making it mean that I can't do things in my own artistic, creative way, right? And so I think it's just perfect for this to all be coming up at this now time, right? We got this wonderful full moon to in May to anchor in that truth of our creativity and how we're inspired. And we've got this amazing new moon that's going to be like, and now you can really experience that enthusiasm for what is true about you, right? I love it.
All coming together in time and on time, right? The process might feel a little bit messy, but we can embrace the mess.
Embrace the mess. Life is messy. I mean, it just is right now. I don't know if we're getting back to this super tidy together life. I don't know. I feel like some people just do that on natural instinct. They're just like, and my house is perfect all the time. I'm like, okay, whatever. But I'm proud of myself if I can do it once a quarter. Like, oh, everything's where it's supposed to be. That's lovely. So anyways, but yeah, like I love that again, how these are tying together, even with the book selection here we have with Ken Wilber's Theory of Everything, which is that deep dive we're talking about before. We're talking about how it's a lot, right? The digestion is not a quick and effortless thing on this book. How has it evolved for you in on the inside, Susie? How are you feeling about A Theory of Everything right now?
I am still integrating the everything, which I think is a process that will continue to evolve for me. But you know what it makes me want to do? And we took a peek at the charts um, last time we did our live stream and getting into our book club. Perhaps it was during our book club meeting. If you buy us a coffee, you can learn more about that. I'll put up that banner. Um, I really want to, because it is, and he fully admits it in the book, his purpose is not to say that difference is bad and that we are all the same by saying that there is a theory that connects all things. The difference is celebrated, and fundamentally there is a connection, a unity from which we all have individual expressions. So I'm so excited about looking at how this ties into spiral dynamics and other things. I feel like I want to get my notepad out and kind of like connect the dots and start putting these in layers, just like we've also referenced when he was writing the book, and he shares in the book, he had these big piles as he tried to sort and create an order as you try to systematize everything.
Mm.
It's a big undertaking. And of course, he's got quite a list of other books that he has written that have piqued my curiosity now, too.
Like, right, there's like 7 books we now want to read because of this one book. And then, so again, in the simplifying, I'm like, okay, what's next? Is my question always to myself. But yeah, and for me, it's that desire too, because I want to systemize the systems, and he's done that. But for me now, I have to see like where am I in my understanding of these systems, in my connecting of these systems, and what parts am I kind of on board the train of evolution? How I think of again uh, how I play a role in the evolution of humanity. Like how am I doing that lineage thing? And so it's very, very interesting because like ChatGPT, by the way, ChatGPT is my new best friend. And
Welcome to the club, girlfriend. My VA
like,
Chad.
and you do everything for me. I love you. Let's see. but the but yeah, the ChatGPT recommended actually 3 gene keys that I think it's just
Oh,
brilliant to relate to Ken Wilber's thing. 22, which is one of my essential keys as well. And it's essentially grace. It's this ability to be gracious. And what does that mean? That means having an understanding of your own sense and sensibilities, your feelings, and others at the same time, and honoring both. Like not dishonoring how you feel and what is important to you, and not dishonoring the other party, even if it's different, and what they want to do. what they're up to, right? And like that is definitely that internal meets the external feeling that he has quadrants. So he has like that first one is just I, how am I feeling? What are my thoughts, my dreams, my insides doing? You know, and then the next is how am I relating to what's outside of me or who is outside of me, right? And so there's that piece. The 32 is what I was just talking about. It's the lineage. It's like, how are you set up in your framework of understanding and your expression of the reality of the systems that you've been connected to and are connected to? And how do you want to continue that? Or how do you want to change those relationships? I think is a great reflection that you could have from this book. There's just so much there. It's like there's so many ways you can like dive into those because he does an overview of so many systems that we use, like the spiral dynamics is a major part of how he sets things up. But he also talks about Enneagram and what else? Like so many like different religions, worldwide religions, like a ton of stuff. And so it really helps you, like if you feel like a lot of your understanding is associated with a specific culture, a specific government or a system, then you can kind of start to untangle some of that perspective just by sitting with the information for a little bit. I think it's just, it's a lot. It's a lot of information. I think I said that already.
But he really
Right?
does. I love how he brings so many different systems to his kind of formula to demonstrate the capacity of it to accommodate so much, right? Comparing religions from Christianity to Taoism to Confucianism to Buddhism, like how they fall within his matrix. And so I think that helps to continue illustrating his point. It's definitely something that I've worked through in layers. I've started listening to the book all over again now so I can listen again with what I've learned from the end and reintegrate it, because it's getting that bird's eye view of a puzzle. We tend to want to look at the puzzle piece and say, where does this go? Where does this fit? But without knowing what the whole puzzle is going to look like.
What do we know? We don't know
Nice.
yeah, I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from the book as well, is that without kind of that bird's eye view, that we don't really know how we're relating to the things around us because we don't know how much is influencing how we're relating. And so it's so dynamic in that way. This is one of those books where I have very few books now because I move so frequently that are physical. And this is one of those that I'm definitely going to get because there's no way to track all the different things I want to explore within the book and within myself around the book without having kind of something in front of me where I'm highlighting and like expounding on this, expanding on that, and having that relationship.
Get all my fingers in the
Absolutely.
book and bookmarks, and then from this page, and then flipping back here and bringing it all together.
Yeah, exactly. Because yeah, you do. Like I feel some books just require that. It require those little sticky notes and and the highlights so that you can come back. Oh, like why did I put the sticky note here? Oh yes, the highlight is here. You can really get that down. And I love a digital book, by the way. So I am not opposed to that being a reality as a digital read book. Most of my books are audio. That's how I learn. And so, but there's something about like dense information that you need a physicality, right? Like you need to be able, like you said, having all those papers on the floor, right? You referenced this already. Like, okay, this goes over here, this goes over here. Start spatially like kind of diagnosing what's going on. Yes, I'm actually pretty excited about not just doing that with this book, but like also kind of, again, my next Ken Wilber book is there's a brief history of everything is on the table, and then the meditation is really close.
Ooh.
It's so close. It's like
Time to choose your own adventure.
Exactly. Choosing our own adventure of Ken Wilbering. Yeah, I feel like I'm so into meditation right now, and maybe the go-to, and then maybe backing up, maybe because maybe I'll go into the meditation, get the physical book, spend a little bit more time with this book instead of delving into another, dense revelation book, and like have some experiential things, right? That's up for May, right? Um, so yeah, so I think that's my decision.
I
Have you
love
made
it.
a decision?
I have nothing with that. And remind us too, we'll go into this next week. Well, not next week, this Thursday. Sorry about changing dates. Life has been lifing lately. This coming Thursday, this week that we are already in, we're going to have our book club deep dive workshop. And so we'll go into it again then. But can you remind me, Monifa, we talked about these meditations that he's prepared also. Are those available online through his website? Where does he share this?
Again, it was a feature of the audiobook, so it may only be an audiobook because it may be like a walkthrough meditation type of thing. Um, yeah, I did look for it as a book. I did not see it. So it may only be on audio, which to me is perfect. So I
Is
don't know
there a
how other people feel about audiobooks, but what were you gonna say?
I said, because it's already there. You're ready to turn the page, as you
Yeah.
will.
And I have to make my own, guides, all those things. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Really. The last I forgot that there's one more gene key again that the Chat GPT referenced, which was 44. So 44 is the gift of teamwork, city of
Mm.
synergy, right? So it's like that idea of those final quadrants, like how are we doing, and how is the system supporting the all of the things. I love that too. Like I feel like it's really unfolding in a lot of ways for me because it makes me think more about how I've set up my business and how is it reflected through those quadrants. It makes me think more on how my own theories, my own processes, and how is that reflected through the quadrants. And yeah, so there's so much there. There's so much there.
There is much. We're going to try to distill it down into a bit of a framework and walk through some of the matrix, the process, the perspectives on Thursday. So you are invited to join us. You can
I did
subscribe
make
on
a
Monifa's
sheet.
YouTube channel for updates on our live streams, but the Buy Me a Coffee Verve.vision page is where you can find out about our Zoom link or information for the book clubs workshops.
Yes. So yeah, I have to run it by Susie, but I did make you a worksheet, but so whether we do it or not, we can still have it available to you. Well, I,
Pretty
as
you
in
gotta
we, ChatGPT, made a worksheet that allows you to use some of your astrology to focus in on kind of your internal perspectives on the four quadrants. So it's about like your inner feelings and your outer feelings and your feelings of the we and the feelings of the collective. And so it's really I love it. I love it. So
Oh,
we may have some fun with that just to explore experientially.
I'm all in. Big green light coming from me. I'm super excited. I love this brilliant spark of inspiration. I'm so glad you followed it, right? Just like you've been talking about, Monifa, the systems, the processes, the checklists, put it all aside. If that spark of intuition pulls you forward, you jump on that train.
Yes, 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 yes. And allow life to be inspiring. Allow it to just be what's coming up for you right now. I think that's really the biggest thing that you can do for yourself at this now time. Yes. So will we see you all there? I hope to see you there so we can have fun. As anybody knows, I love to look at a chart. So But if you don't know how to pull your chart up, I'll give you a link. If you have it, bring it, and we'll do some fun stuff then.
Yay! Oh, I'm so excited. This week just got better. Thank you, Monifa, for your insights and your inspirations. It's always so illuminating when we hop online and just see where the energies are and the alignment with what we're reading. It's all in time and on time, as always.
As always, same Susie. Yeah, so awesome. And I love having these conversations with you because you're so brilliant. And I love the way that you are living experiences and sharing experiences with us so that we can keep understanding that human is good. We can keep being human. We can still enjoy it. And yeah, and we've got much more to come. So we will see you at the book club on Thursday.
See you online on Thursday. Y'all have a wonderful day. Take good care of yourselves.